And where we are really aiming is to enable enterprises to become autonomous. This is the whole idea, that most of the communication will be autonomous and only the complicated stuff will transfer to a human. That the human should do what humans should do, not to act like bots.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Leumi Tech, sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Turing, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and in media partnership with C-Tech. Today I'm going to meet somebody who really embodies the idea of entrepreneurship. Meet Eli Israelov, co-founder and CEO of CommBox. Eli can't sleep at night, literally, when an idea is bumped into his mind. He won't relax until he materializes it. He is an entrepreneur since he can remember himself, and raised money for his first startup when he was a cab driver on a ride from Jaffa to Ramat Aviv. Eli Israelov, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you today?
I feel good, especially today. I don't know why I feel good. So you find me in the right day.
Well, that's exactly what I try to do. You're the co-founder and CEO of CommBox, and the world is changing around us. Software is eating the world. The sales and traditional communication channels are being disrupted on a daily basis at this point. Very fragmented, very difficult to keep track of, and I'm going to hear soon more about this problem from you and how you're tackling it. But one of the things that immediately stood out as I was looking through your background is, the number of initiatives that you've started and you've founded and co-founded. So tell me a little bit about your journey and walk me through some of those, some of those organizations and what is it about creating organizations that really gets you excited?
Okay, so I think it's a matter of nature, and you as interpreter yourself, you probably know that when an idea strikes me, so I really can't sleep. Like, if it's a good idea, like, it touches me as well, because there are many ideas. You go in the morning to the traffic, I have an idea. You always have an ideas, but sometimes the ideas, wow, you said, I have to do that. And when this thing happens, I have always the feeling that it can be done. And then my mind keeps on, all day, all night, and it brings me a lot of energy, and I'm becoming addicted to that, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm taking all the puzzles and put it all together, and how exactly to do that, who are the right people, what exactly the big problem, the story, and it goes on, and you have a feeling that you're going to solve something big. So it always drives you. So I think it was since I was a kid. I had like ideas, and I want to figure out how to do it, to materialize them. So this is what happened after the army, when I started my, I don't call it a career, even though when I was a student. By the way, when I was a student, I remember I was in London. It was the 90s, so you can figure out how old I am. Yeah, it was the 90s, and then it was the first time, we heard about the internet. It was like 95, 6, 7. I don't recall exactly number, but I knew about the internet. But then I remember that I read the Chrome magazine, .net, and like I was blown. I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about it. All the application, what you can do with that. And on those days, they weren't like, it was the modem, and there was like a sites. There was Netscape. There wasn't even Explorer, Netscape, and in Israel there was Chameleon. And then I came back to Israel, and I was sure that I'm going to do something with that. And I said that it has to be something with businesses. And then I remember during the night, I was working like as a taxi driver. Yeah, as a student, which was
Really?
one of the most incredible jobs I had. I used to also
Wow.
work. Yeah, it was one of my. I have most of the stories. Most of my best stories are from there. from the night.
I'm gonna ask you for one or two in just a second, but please continue.
Yeah. So I had to work. I used to work at night, and I remember I was so enthusiastic about the net. So there were a couple of businessmen, two businessmen that they had print shops. I don't remember even what were the names. And they came to my cab, and I took them from Jaffa to Ramat Aviv. And I told them about, I didn't want to do, I just told them about the internet. And I told them what things you can do with that. And they asked me, what exactly would you do? So I told them, it's not what I would do. I'm going to do that and that and that. He said, listen, listen, young guy, we're going to give you $100,000. You're going to eat, you're going to be. So this was my first startup. And I did it during while I was studying. It was called Interneto. So it was like train businesses to implement them, modems in the computers. They didn't even understand what you can do with that in the business.
Amazing.
But I've done it for a few years. I don't even remember what. So this is a nice story from back then. Another one was in 2001, I think 2001, prior to Facebook. Facebook was 2003. And I'm so naive. The truth is I'm naive, So what happened is I read an article, if you remember, the 6 degrees of separation. I know it's a sociological article that back in the days, in 6 telephones, you can get to the prime minister or to the whoever you want, okay? In 6 telephones. Today it's in 1 telephone, yeah? But
yeah.
So I said, wow, if you can build a platform that connects people in circles, that you can reach anybody. So I was so enthusiastic, and I put money, pocket money, and I brought like engineers, and we built practically a social network that didn't work.
Amazing.
I didn't succeed. I didn't succeed like in the I didn't raise money for that. So it was very complicated, I thought I can do that, but it was so complicated. The programmers, gave up, and got so we got in a big mess, so it didn't work out. So this is also a nice story that
I love it. I love it.
I've done a few more things. I don't even want to talk about it, but
now let's transition a little bit fast forward, and we're talking about CommBox today. And as you're going through your journey, what led you to think more concretely about sales and communication, especially in these last few years?
Yeah, very simple. I had to get a service from Orange at the time when it was called Orange and not Partner, and I waited online. It was years ago. It was 8 years ago, and I waited on. I don't even remember if there was a WhatsApp then. I waited online, and they passed me through agents, and you had to wait, and you have to cut your life. And then I asked myself, how come I can't, ask them by messenger or something to receive service? And then, and I said, how it looked so weird to me. And then I went like to interview over there. There was a guy like Kedmi. He was like the guru of marketing of Orange at the time. He was like the head of marketing. And I asked him, and I went to interview him, and then I interviewed a few more. And he told me, you know what, Eli? Of course you want to be in the digital. Everybody talks about digital transformation for years, by the way. There's a buzzword, digital transformation. For the last 4 years, there's a buzzword of AI and automation, all that. We talk about all that.
And this is about 8-9 years ago, right?
Yeah. Of course, we want to be in the digital, but it's so complicated. As a big organization, we can do digital, a little bit of chat, we can answer a little bit on Facebook, but we can't really do it massively because it's complicated, because you have to integrate all these channels to the CRM, to route it to the right agents. There are many business rules that has to apply to these conversations. So it becomes so complicated, and these projects are so expensive. So we all stay in our comfort zone. I said, wow, nice. So and then I interviewed a few more, and then I realized that big companies, their major obstacle to do digital transformation is that there are too many integrations in the core systems. I'm talking about a digital transformation at scale, not as a buzzword that everybody does the little thing. I'll give you the numbers in a minute. But the major obstacle is that the core system, the CRM, is a system of documentation. It's not a system of communication. And in order to do a lot of to do digital communication at scale, you have to do so many integrations, so it becomes so complicated. So they don't do it. They're staying in the comfort zone. So I said, wow, this is, by the way, one problem. The second problem, which is a huge problem, for years, for the last 5 years, there is like a lot of buzzword about artificial intelligence and how like the AI and the bots will replace agents. Buzzwords and a lot of conferences about that, blah blah blah. But practically, if you're going to an enterprise today, while most of our as human beings, yeah, most of our communication is out of any 10 interaction, 8 of them is happened by digital. And also, when you go to an enterprise, you see like 70% of the requests of customers are repetitive requests can be automated. But when you look at these enterprises, you realize that still 70 to 80% of the communication is telephonic. And from these 70% of requests that can be automated, only 5% are automated. So it all stays in the buzzwords. Everybody talking about digital transformation and automation, but practically most of it is still a manual. Most of it is still by human agents and telephone. And I'm not talking about the high tech companies. I'm talking about our sweet spot, by the
Right.
way, are the legacy enterprises, the complicated, the banks, the insurance companies, the telcos, the healthcares, all these complicated companies that says we want to be digital, but they can't really can be digital. We are like updated and automated and do digital transformation, but practically they have call centers of thousands of people that are doing like acting like bots. Okay, so we realized that in order to solve this problem, and when I walked into that startup, it's not like I said, okay, I'm going to do an app.
Right.
I knew that it's going to be a robust platform. And because of my experience, like I told you about, like circles that I've done, I realized that the execution here has to be perfect. It has to be a platform that designed for enterprise. Bottom up is designed for customer communication in all channels. Everything has to be generic. We can put new channels very easy, and the automation has to be part of it. It has to be our automation. It has to be integral to all channels. It has to work seamlessly with the live agents. So it means that everything has to be holistic and out of the box in order that it will work. Of course, it's an enterprise level solution, so you can integrate any third party if you want to integrate Watson and that. But in our philosophy, everything has to be out of the box, and it proved itself. At the beginning, as a startup, we thought, as a regular startup, we said we'll do one pilot or two pilots, and then we'll take it from there. We'll raise money, and then we realized that we hit a very open nerve. I don't know if you say it in English, an open nerve, something that it's very painful for enterprises. And we are still bootstrapped, but we are very profitable, and we have like almost 100 people, and we have like almost 300 customers, all enterprises. So we built this platform. With we went to enterprises and we built it with the customers' needs, to understand exactly what an enterprise needs. So this is practically a CommBox, and where we are really aiming is to enable enterprises to become autonomous. This is the whole idea, that most of the communication will be autonomous and only the complicated stuff will transfer to a human. That the human should do what humans should do, not to act like bots. This is the whole
I think
idea.
one of the interesting things to take away from here, as an entrepreneur, a lot of the times we think about this new world and the cloud organizations, cloud native organizations, and we almost forget that still most of the world is not there. Most of the world is not in the cloud. Most of the world is not digital, and those we while we may want to focus on the cloud native to move forward, we can't forget about how the rest of the world works, and then us as consumer experiences, this is then how we still experience the world. Hopefully, and at some point, everybody will be cloud native, but it'll take time, and there will be industries that it'll take a lot of time. And so I think that what you're doing is really, really interesting. What has it been like running through this for about 9 years? So this is not 1 or 2 years. This is a big chunk of your life and a big chunk of your professional life that you're dedicating to this. What has that been like?
If like there is a term, a journey, this is the term, really, because it's really a journey. I learned about myself so much during that journey, because we are not like also a typical startup. A typical startup has loads of money, and is heavy, and is always like he has like his formula. We're not a typical startup, and we decided to do it differently. Even though now we're discussing, okay, we are like in a position, maybe we take money and do like the next big step. But it was really so many. It's really a journey, because for me this is my longest journey, by the way. This is really my longest journey. And during the and I didn't believe it would be so long. But during that journey, I learned so many things about myself. It's unbelievable. And really, I can, it's a different story. Because, I felt many times, I felt like I am in a battle. Me and my co-founder, my partner, and he's a genius by himself. He's like a genius. He constructed, how everything will work together. And we thought together, and he knew how to execute it in the next few. Like, we talked about automation when we did the first design of the system, and we knew how it's going to look before we put the automation inside, and how generic it will be, and all that. So it was really, really, we felt like both of us many times like in a battle. And you have your wins, and you have times that you're tired, and there are times that you
Right.
are up, and you feel like you can conquer everything. And it was really, really, and it's still a journey. And during that journey, also the company has, like, during the corona, by the way, we doubled ourselves.
Wow.
In the last 3 years, we are doubling ourselves. Yeah. And during the corona, all the things that we pitched for years, that you have to be automated, and you have to be digital
Now it's a
transformation. It's not
necessity.
a
It's not nice to
buzzword.
have.
You have to, it's a necessity. And what happened in the corona, our customers wanted to be, and new customers wanted to be more efficient, wanted to become digital. So, we have customers today that more than 50% of their communication are running through CommBox. No telephone, less and less. And I'm talking about big
Amazing.
companies. So it's really, the word is journey,
Incredible.
and in evolution. The company has an evolution, from 10 people. I remember, like, we have a mythological trip to Amsterdam. This is our we were like, our first trip, 14 people, 1-4. It was like, wow. I remember that trip. It was like going with friends. It was amazing. And now, the company goes to an evolution, and a trip with more people, and parties with more people, and suddenly, more and more managers. So you feel the evolution of the company. But me and my partner are going through evolution ourselves.
Amazing.
So it's really a journey. So this is the term journey.
This is it.
This is
Eli,
it.
this was so much fun. Thank you for sharing with me the stories. I'm going to have to hear a few more stories from being a taxi driver in another episode. But for now, I have three short and fun questions for you, and I want to take you back to your childhood. What fascinated you as a kid? What was something that either a passion, hobby, or a subject in school that really fascinated you?
Okay. I grew, by the way, in a far city called Arad. Okay, it's like in the south. I was an asthmatic when I was a kid. We moved over there. Um, the truth is, the most thing that fascinated me, I had like, and it still is, to be in the desert. I don't know how to call it. Of course, I had, you asked like what was my things that I liked in school and all that. So I don't, to be in the desert, I don't know how to explain that. So it was
Amazing.
always like something for me. I felt very close to myself when I was in the desert. So the desert really fascinates me. Okay, not just the desert. Today I live on the seas. It's like I live near the sea. So all the things that doesn't have an end, always fascinates me. This is one thing. Um, Biology fascinated me a lot.
I'll take it.
I like biology a lot. And magics fascinated me. I
Amazing.
like magics.
And
That's it.
if you look
Biology is
at
magic by
today,
itself.
who
So
would serve as some sort of inspiration for you in the world?
okay, so I don't really have. I thought about it. I don't have this mega. I have a. I have. There are people. First of all, my parents really, and they are very simple parents, by the way. Um, the people that are like inspires me usually, they are like people that I think their main character that they never give up. Really, I have like a friend. I have a friend.
Yeah.
From each person I learn something, of course. But like I have a friend that never gives up and always in high spirit. Also, my mother. My mother, I know she doesn't have a simple life, but she never gives up. Also in high spirit. So these are the also, and my father is very like he's very simple guy, very very almost how do you call it, Nazir?
Yeah.
Never mind, very very simple guy. He has many. He has a lot of patents. He's like to make his life comfortable. I think from here I became very creative, but he's very efficient and very simple. So he inspires me a lot. So like many people, I don't have like a mega star. And also like sometimes, writers, Murakami. I don't know if you know Murakami. He's like a writer, a Japanese writer, that he writes
Right.
also very, very simple and very, very precise, but also as a human being, he's a very private human being. And he also runs a lot. He's doing ultra marathons and that is something that I'm very resonant myself
Amazing.
like it a
And what
lot.
are
So
three words that you would use
yeah.
to describe yourself?
So the first one I think is motion. In motion, I'm always in motion. Always. As I remember, I'm always in motion. The second thing, I'm always in quest. So it's something like I'm always searching for something. Always. I'm since I remember myself, I'm always searching for something. Um, and by the way, the motion, I'm addicted to sport as well. I'm not just in motion as doing things as a doer, but also like physically. I'm always and I think the third thing is like I'm always doubt the obvious, or people that are too confident. I'm always doubt them, or do something that is very obvious. So I'm looking at it, so I say, why it's obvious? Like if everything says that it's obvious, so it seems nobody really looked at it deeply. So I'm in a doubt when something is obvious, too obvious. So I'm looking at a little bit, and suddenly you realize that many things that are obvious in my domain, by the way, also, have you ever asked yourself why there are telephone numbers?
Amazing.
Why do we need telephone numbers? You have Google. Who
Right.
remember a telephone number anymore? Why do you need it? Things that are so obvious and
Definitely.
in your blood, and you never doubt them. There's so many things like that. There are many things like that. So this is
Eli,
what these
תודה
are the
רבה
words
רבה.
that
This was
define
so
me.
much fun. Thank you for your time. This was great. Thank you. Best of luck with CommBox and
Thank
stay
you.
safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thanks.